It's Loretta's zone.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
What's good with it? What's good with it, y'all? Welcome to Live Talk to Know. I know I haven't been live for 2 weeks, but I'm back. Same time and place, unless I say otherwise. Live Talk to Know every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I see people tapping in earlier. Drop a comment in the chat and let me know where you guys are from and where you're watching from. I appreciate everybody tapping in and tuning in tonight. And if you haven't heard, I dropped our new EP called Bassline Flex. Yes, it's just strictly an instrumental album, EP. Not album, but instrumental EP, where I just drop a whole bunch of beats that I've done over the years, and I decided to put them out to get people ears on them and listen to them. And it's very bass heavy, so if you like bass heavy hip hop, I think this will be an EP that you'll like, if you'll listen to, and that you'll listen to on repeat. And hell, you might even freestyle too. Who knows? Who knows? I might decide to take the EP, reach out to a couple of rappers I know and have them each rap on the beat. Pick a beat that you want to rap to, and we do a Bassline Flex part too. Just an idea that I'm throwing out there though. But for now, I'm gonna dive into our Bassline Flex, and let's see. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. And if you heard Bassline Flex, drop in the chat. What's your favorite record on Bassline Flex? And tell me why that's your favorite record. So tonight we're taking an inside look at my instrumental Bassline Flex. I'm breaking down the concept behind the project and talking about one of the hardest beats on the EP, Redemption 2026. And I know that from people that I asked my poll on IG. If you follow me on IG, you've seen a couple of times I posted on my story asking people what's their favorite track on Bassline Flex and which track they think the most. I posted another track from Bassline Flex. I asked a poll question and most of the votes went to Redemption 2026. So that seems to be a popular song. And even my sister told me, she's like, bro, you could go high heat with this. You could go high heat with this one. So, and that's also my favorite track off the EP as well. But if you guys are just tuning in, I appreciate you guys tapping in with me. Go ahead and leave a comment in the chat and tell me where you're from, watch it from, and what's your favorite track on Bassline Flex if you heard it. And if you have not heard it, it's available on Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon Music, YouTube. YouTube. You can also listen to it on Deezer too, because I got an email that's on Deezer. And any streaming platform of your choice, you can look up Bassline Flex. And you can reach out to me later on. If you're not watching during the live while I'm live, you can reach out later on and on the replay and leave a comment, and I'll respond back to you. Provide some feedback. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and which beats that resonated with you. And if you rock with bass heavy hip hop and hard hitters, you're going to enjoy this one. I will say that. So, if bass heavy hip hop is your thing and you love to rock with 808s, every track is full of bass heavy, even spooky synthetic. Now, some people might hear that, and I'm going to get into that later on, but I'm going to break it down by track, by each order. So it's a total of 6 tracks on the EP, and I'm going to break it down by each track. So if you came in earlier, if you came at the beginning of live, I was playing the first 2 tracks off the EP. The Bass Don't Lie is how I kick the track off. You hear my tag come in. It was Loretta's Only, then you hear The Bass Don't Lie, which I think that's perfect way to introduce the album, to get it started, to get EP started, to get the start of the project, because of the type of energy that it's bringing. Because if you listen to that track, The Bass Don't Lie, you will see that the bass is very heavy. You can hear it as soon as it come on. You hear the 808 kicking and the kicks coming on. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. You can hear that, and if you got a car with speakers, you got some beat down in your car, you're definitely gonna love that, and that's why I wanted to start it off, because I wanted to kick it off right. And then I played the second track too after that, at the beginning of the live, when I first went live, and that's Bassline Flex, the title track of the EP. And it's also have heavy bass in it, but it's more like a dance record. And some might say it could be a video game. But I'm gonna break down each and every track on the EP, and by the time you get finished with this live, I think you want to go ahead and listen to it, or you might go back and listen to it again if you already heard it. You might hear what I've heard, or understand now that I broke down on what's the theory behind it. So first, let me start off with the very first track on the EP, Bass Don't Lie. So I titled that Bass Don't Lie because of the 808s, or the bass coming in at the beginning. after the tag, as soon as the beat started, the bass drop, doom, 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 doom. So you hear the 808 drop. So I'm like, this is perfect. This is the perfect title for it, called The Bass Don't Lie. And I did that beat maybe a couple years ago, but I never really released it. So just want to get this out here. Like the tracks that you're hearing is beats that I did a couple years ago. I never released, and I started to finally release them, to tweak them a little bit, get better mixes on them. I said, you know what? I'm gonna put out an instrumental EP and see how people respond. And I've been getting some good response from people who heard it. One of my customers from work, I told him about the EP, and he heard the tape. And he said it was decent. He said I like it. He said it inspired me to drop my tape, and which I hope he does, because I want to hear what he has as well. So it lets me know that I did a good job with this, and also I'm going to do a better job with the next project as well. And some might say, hey, they might want me to put rap, but hey, but get back to the bass that lie. Not gonna get off subject too much, but to talk about the bass don't lie. When it comes to that, it's a bass heavy hip hop type beat. I wanted the 808s to hit, so I wanted something to start off the EP right. I want to come with some energy to start the EP off right. And let people know, say, oh, the title of the EP is Bassline Flex, so which I thought Bass Don't Lie was perfect to start off the EP. It was the perfect way to introduce the EP to get people ready that this is going to be a bass heavy EP. And all the beats that you hear, the bass is going to dominate most of the frequencies. You'll hear other instruments in it as well. You'll hear the drums, but the bass as a center line, you can hear that with the Bass Don't Lie. And when I was making that, I wanted to make something that was hard, something that's hard, gritty, has that, something that make your trunk rattle. How the trunks rattle when you hit the 12s, 15s, or somebody got some highs. How people got a system in their truck or the SUV or their car, you can hear them coming down the block. That's what I wanted to do here with Bass Don't Lie. So that's why I made the 808 hit so hard. So if you got speakers in your car, or you got a sound system in your house, or you got the Bose headphones or some Beat headphones, well, you're gonna hear that 808 bass, and it's gonna thump. It's gonna make your trunk rattle, and it'll make your trunk rattle and make your back window shake. You know how the back window shake, the rear window shake in your car, in the vehicle. It make that shake even if you turn your volume up. Turn your volume up in your car and tell me, do your window rattle. You'll see it shake. Even if you don't got a beat down system, but it's really like if you got a system, Bass Don't Lie, you're going to hear that 808, and that's what I was going for when I made it. So I said, I want to give people something that they can hear, they can feel instantly. As soon as they hit play, you can feel it instantly. Maybe in the first 5 to 10 seconds, you hear dum, 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 dum. As soon as you hear that 808, you just hearing that straight up with the beat. And then you hear the violins coming in with it too, because I love screams. So, I love how screams match even with the 808. So what I did was I took the screams, which is the chorus of that beat. I took that and created my bass line with the 808 to make the bass being key with the melody, which I think is very important. Some might do something different, but with me, I love to make the bass being key with the melody or the chorus. You say some people call it melody, some people call it chorus, but I think as a producer, that's something that's reducing to me, and that's what I learned. When I went to Full Sail and getting my undergrad in recording arts, that had the beat, had the bass and key with the melody of the beat. So every melody I'm using, whether it's strings or a piano, I take the chords, the roots of the chords, and I make that the bass line melody. And I play around with it. Either I shorten it with 808 slides or I do the 808 punch, It depends on what I like. So let me ask you guys this, and that's in the chat, If you're a producer or you're just a music listener, you love bass heavy hip hop, do you prefer the 808 slides or do you prefer the 808 punch? Do you like it when the 808 punches consistently? Let me know in the chat. Click that. So that's the story behind the Bass Don't Lie. Also, you can hear also added that in there because I kind of wanted to go with hip hop greedy vibe, but also have a little horror mixed in with it because I'm a horror movie lover, you know. So I wanted to mix that up. So this beat, I feel like this beat could be a beat that you could see in a horror movie, or this could be a beat, that's played at a game or something, or played somebody intro to a wrestler or something, or in a theme song for a TV show. It might be for a horror TV show or a thriller. Something that gets the beat pumping because with the 808s thumping, you feel that in your chest, so something's coming. It's almost like this beat is made for something that something's about to big is about to happen. And that's what I was going for. Something big is going to happen too. Not only was I really going for just to have that sound where that makes the trunk rattle, the trunk rattle sound, people in the club, that makes the 18 speakers boom, 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 the subwoofer thump, real hard. I was really going for something that people know, like, oh, when I hear this bass, I hear the 808 coming, and I hear them screams coming, or something big is about to happen. So, I think it'd be perfect for a movie scene. You know, any movie, it just don't have to be a horror movie, but it could be an action movie or any type of movie that has a lot of action in it, or when they want something big going to happen. I think this would be perfect. Like just that little part. Boom, boom, boom. Imagine in a horror movie, you see the slasher, the killer, or the antagonist, the main villain of the horror movie coming up, and you just hear boom, boom, boom. When that scare you a little bit, you look like, oh shit, something to happen. Like movies like Scream. If you saw the new Scream set, they had the beat, the beat come in, something to happen. I think it go perfect with that because the movies are very good with that, and the editing team of the movies are very good with that, which I think is perfect. So somebody could just take that 808 bass line and use it just to make that impact to give the audience something that they can feel. So that's what I was going out with Bass Don't Lie. Now moving to Bassline Don't Flex. So with Bassline Flex, which is the title of the EP, is the title song of the EP, I wanted to create a dance record. So I actually made that attention a couple of years ago to create a dance record, like a dance anthem. And that was my attempt at making a dance anthem. And it turned out a little different, kind of like electronic. Some people might say it's more electronic, or it might be like more video game music though, but you hear the drums, the kick, the snares, and the bass. So I created that to give people like a dance feel, And again, I want to start off Bassline Flex with energy, with some high energy, I want to start off pretty fast, a little bit, not too fast, but just give it like energetic, build up, to get people energized, to get people feet moving. Because, I feel like, in my opinion, when it comes to beats, making beats, it comes to like, either the kick or the 808 is going to dominate. I prefer the 808 to dominate the low end frequency, in my opinion. I have the kick, of course, you side chain the kick to the 808. But in my opinion, I think the bass gets the people feet moving. So that's what I wanted to do with Bassline Flex. I wanted to get people feet moving. So I created a dance track. I added the sim. Woo, woo, try to create something maybe like a line dance so people can do these steps, or people can do their break dancing to it. You hit the it's having like multiple elements of different genres in to one beat. You can hear the hip hop influence, you can hear the dance electronic vibe to it. So I want people to dance to it. So that was the intention behind Bassline Flex, to get people dancing, to get people feet moving. I really want to hear people feet move. So we hear that song with people feet moving, and one of my coworkers was listening to it one time. I was playing it at work, and she's saying like, "Oh, that'll be something that could be played in Mario, a video game." Yeah, it very well could be played in a video game, but it'd be dope. Imagine you playing Mario or any type of video game, and you hear Bassline Flex come on, you might start dancing or playing the video game. I think that'd be dope. It might get your feet moving. Hell, who knows? You might see that in a video game. Might be in one of your next upcoming video games, and the video game creators and the game designers might put it in there where the character dance to that. When the song come on, the character start moving their feet to the bass. That's why that was my attention behind Bassline Flex, the self-titled track on the EP. I want people to move their feet with that one, so that's why I made it how it was, and that you can hear the bass heavy in that one as well. So I think it's very important, and if you're someone who loves bass bass heavy hip hop, you can catch on to the thing that I'm doing with these songs. That every song has is a bass heavy. Every song, the bass is prominent in it, and you can hear it. Even in Speaking Synthetic, and even for the Fallen, and which is the next song I'm gonna get into as well. But Bassline Flex, basically the base story of that was to make it a dance record and to get people feet moving. Now for the Fallen, the third track off the EP, for the Fallen, I made that song for those who we had lost and for those we had lost over the years, people who might have lost a loved one or experienced a loss of loved one like I have. I lost my mother going on 19 years ago. Maybe 20 years at the end of this year that she's been gone. So I made the Fallen for that type of vibe where it gives the listener and for me at the time, to reminisce on those that we have lost, the loved ones that we have lost, and that we'll always remember, that we continue to think about, but I think it's important that we'll never forget about. So when I was making that song and I chose that piano riff and I chose the bass, I want people to feel it as well, just to feel in your heart. It's not like your heartbeat thumping. You're thinking of your loved one, you're thinking they're no longer here, you're thinking about conversations, you're playing memories with them, memories that you shared, moments that you shared with your loved one. So I think it's important for me to have the violin as well to come in with the bass and the kick, to gain that bass heavy bass line in it to make people feel that in their chest and feel it in their heart, the pain of missing a loved one. It's something that we all go through, and I feel like some people can relate to. So I created this song to fit that type of vibe for people to reflect. So I'm a reflective person. So if you're a reflective person like me, I think what the following would be a track for you to help you reminisce, think about a loved one, and I think you will feel that. You will feel the same way I felt when I made it, when I created it, because when I listen to it, every time I think about it, I think about my mother. She's no longer here, so I started reminiscing the moments about my mother and the memories that we shared and the moments that we had together while she was here on Earth. So I feel like somebody else might need to hear that so they can also get that pain out and find a way to cope with it. And we all had those moments where we reminisce on our loved ones that's no longer here. And we no longer kiss and hug and give them a hug. So that was my vibe with that. And also, my intention was to put it out there for others to have something that they can go to and listen to or to feel. Now, Bassline Flex, is a bass heavy era. I want you to dance and move your feet, nod your head or whatever you do, but I also want you to feel some type of emotion. So that was for the Fallen, was to evoke that emotion, and it fits the vibe of the sad. It's a little sad. It slows down a little bit. Yeah, I know it slows down a little bit, but hey, that's the mode I'm going. I didn't want to just make it a strictly upbeat EP. I just want to have people to have that emotion because not everybody likes the upbeat stuff. Some people like songs with emotion, like beats with emotion. So I felt like by making that and putting that on the EP and placing it where I placed it at number 3, that would get that type of emotion out of the listener and those can come back and reflect on it. So now when you listen to For the Fallen, now you understand what was the story behind it. And also, who knows? That song might be played at funerals, or that song might be played in the movie during a scene where it's a funeral where a character dies, or a TV show where a character dies. Who knows? You know, and you never know who's watching. So I also did it for that reason as well, to add that type of vibe, to add something for that type of vibe. And also, I want people to be able to enjoy this EP where you get different emotions. It's almost like a take us on a journey. It's like a journey. There's a story behind each beat. And if you're in the chat, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and comments on what thoughts you have received from Bassline Flex. And if you are watching the live, watching the replay of the live, hey, you can drop a comment and we can have a conversation about it. Say, hey, I like For the Fallen because it makes me think about my mother. It's reflected, or I like this song because of this, or I like this song because of this reason. I'm always down to have a conversation about it. We can have a good conversation. We can have a good constructive conversation. Hey, you give me some constructive criticism. I think you could have did this better. No harm, no foul. But moving on to track number 4, which is Spooky Synthetic. Now, Spooky Synthetic is a little different. All the other tracks seem more bass heavy. Spooky Synthetic, yes, it still has bass. It has that sub kick. That sub kick sound. Still has that clip that. Still has that sub kick bass in that. It still goes with the theme of Bassline Flex, but the synth. The bass line, if you listen close, the bass line is the ding 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 ding. It's like a synth I use. It's like a synth I use for the bass line. So it's still the bass line flexing. I'm still flexing the bass line, but I'm using the synth along with the sub kick. So I'm making that to go along coincide with the bass line. So actually that's the bass line. Ding 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 ding. Which I think is dope. And outside, I said I want to do something a little different with this. And a funny story about Spooky Synthetic. If you've been following me for a while and you follow my early music, you heard some of my early music, I had a song called Scary Movie. Spooky Synthetic, I actually made that beat originally to be intended for the original beat for Scary Movie, but I went with another beat for Scary Movie. And who knows, I still might use that Spooky Synthetic song to make a Scary Movie Part 2. So Spooky Synthetic could very well be the part to the Scary Movie. Who knows? But it gives that creepy vibe. It's like spooky, but it's with a synth. So it's not necessarily real creepy, but it's more like kind of upbeat Scary Movie. Like it's got like a little upbeat, kind of make it dance. It's more like kind of comical. You ever seen like a scary movie or a horror flick that's like funny, has a little comedic vibe to it? Kind of like Thanksgiving. When the movie Thanksgiving is more comedy, it's like dark comedy. That's what I was going for. It's like a dark comedy, and that's the vibe I wanted to create. So what if I create a horror type beat that has like a little funny vibe to it, has a little goofy vibe to it, like a little comical vibe to it. That's why I was going for Spooky Synthetic with the synths. When you hear the synth, it's like a Spooky Synthetic. So that's what I wanted to go with that one. So that's the story behind that one. So really, I wanted to create something like a spooky song, but with a synth. I said, what if I made a horror song with a synth? Just give it like a little kind of spooky vibe, but it's like immediate, like something like Army of Darkness. What's the guy from Army of Darkness? I forget his name though. I can't think of his name right now. I don't know why I can't think of his name. It'll come to me later on. Probably after I go out this light, I think of his name. But it gives that kind of vibe. Something like Army of Darkness, kind of. I want people to laugh a little bit, but also, spooked out by it at the same time. Can you imagine like somebody chasing you to that? The killer coming out. You watch a horror movie or a horror movie show, and let's say somebody pisses off the main character who this guy goes around and he's a mass murderer or something. Somebody says the wrong thing to him, and then it zooms into him, his facial expression, and him thinking like, well, "I'm gonna get that person." And you hear the ding, 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 ding. Can you imagine that? So that's what I was thinking when I was making it. It's like just imagine somebody that pissed you off or something like that. It's like, well, that person know I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna do something to them. Do something real, something mean to them. You know how it goes in the movies. They zoom in on the person. The guy that people pushed around, picked on, or something like that. They kind of make fun of. And then he finally snaps. I think that'd be a perfect little background music to that scene. Zooming in on him, and he's looking like they're thinking of ways of what they're gonna pay for what they did to me. That type of vibe. Or somebody can see this as Spooky Synthetic to use it for a sci-fi movie or a sci-fi soundtrack. It has that vibe too. It can go either or. But that was backstory for Spooky Synthetic, the 4th track on the album. Now we get to the 5th track on the album, Redemption 2026, which it tends to be a favorite from everyone that I know that told me they heard the EP, and that told me personally that heard the beats that I released and heard as soon as I released, they said this is their favorite one. This the one that really caught their attention. This one can be used for motivation, and some might say it can be used for a sci-fi movie or sci-fi film, which is true. But I think that Vision 2026 actually could see that being played in in a stadium, in an NFL stadium, and I believe that. And also could be played in an NBA game or baseball stadium. I made that attention to be a motivation song for those people, people in the gym or people who talking and have their videos, who knows, somebody might hear Redemption 2026 and want to use that in their video when they're talking a motivational speech or they're talking or they're on a podcast. The podcast moments that they have, they talking about something real or something real deep. I think that'd be perfect for the background. Or heck, it could be a theme song for a sports team that's coming back and get their redemption, coming back to revitalize their franchise and let people know that, hey, we the dominant franchise here. Who knows? You never know. But that's why that was my intentions behind it, to make something that's high motivated song that gets you hype. When you get that, I don't know, win in the gym, you're on that last win. You get your second win in the gym. You're trying to get that last sit in, that last rep. You need all the strength you can to get that last rep. You're like, put on that redemption. That redemption playing in your ear. They give you that extra. You know what I'm talking about. If you go to the gym like I do, people who work out know what I'm talking about, or you out there on the court, or getting ready to go out to a game, football game, basketball game, baseball game, or you're getting ready to go out there on a speech, that'd be a perfect intro for a speech, to get you motivated, to get you in the right frame of mind, to go ahead and give the audience a good show. Hey, I could see a wrestler walking out to it too, and that's one thing I like. That's what I wanted to create. I wanted to create something that gives the vibe that is bass heavy, that gives the vibe of motivation, something motivation like redemption. That's why I call it redemption, because it has that sound that makes you want to go out and get on the grind. It has that sound you want to get on the grind. It's time to get out there. Oh yeah, I gotta get out of the grind. I gotta get this. I gotta get this done. Let me get this paper done. Let me get this goal. Let me get this goal. Let me go out and smash goals. Make you feel real strong, And I think anybody who hears the bass 7 with the 808 slides, dum, 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 I know you feel that in your chest. I want people to feel that in their chest, which is why I went with the 808 slides with that and the violin, get the head knocker shoot. Even rappers, I could see that beat being the most sought out beat to be freestyle on. Come to think of it, I am going to do a contest with that, and I'm going to release that letter because that beat is too good not to be heard by the world. So better believe I'm gonna do something within all my power to get that out there, to get that particular track. Because every time I play that for somebody, they say, "Man, that shit fire, man." Everybody that has heard Bassline Flex has pointed that out, and I think it's the most popular song on Bassline Flex, in my opinion. And all the tracks I produce, it's my favorite one. You could tell that I really did cook some high heat on that. And I was really feeling the moment of motivation of grit and grind, grind and grit, it really put you in that mindset. So that's why I made it that way, because I was really in the mindset to go ahead and to be determined, And that's what I want to go for. I want to give those who are determined a soundtrack to the journey, whatever journey that may be. You're at the beginning, or you're at the point where you're trying to rebuild. You got to refocus, or you're restarting. That's the perfect track for it. It got that vibe, no 808s, bass heavy. Well, it's gonna get you in the right mood. Better believe that. Now moving to the last track, and the very last track on the album, which I thought was perfect. A perfect way to end off the album was IDK. I don't know. I was vibing. And when I made that beat, I was really just having fun. I was really just having fun. I had the piano, I had the trumpets, the horns. I wanted to make something with this. Let me see how something sounds with a bass heavy beat with the trumpets and the trombone, the horns, and the violins and the piano. and with the snares and the kicks. And I was really just vibing when I made that. I was just having fun. I really didn't even have a clear attention behind it. I was just vibing. And that's why I named the song IDK. I was just vibing. I was vibing. I was vibing. I was literally when I made that beat, I was vibing. I was just sitting there vibing, having fun. Just saying, hey, this dope. Let me put this out, having fun, putting it out. And I put 8 slides like dum 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 dum, which is why you hear the bass is like the punch is like I'm almost like I'm playing up and down with the bass on like the keys of the piano, like dum 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 dum. How the bass. Dum, 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 dum. Imagine driving your car, you just vibing out, you just vibing out, you ain't really got no attention, you just having fun, and literally that's what that came from, me just having fun. I just in Logic Pro, just having fun, creating something to say, hey, I wanna have fun, so I'm just sitting there, mm, mm, I'm just having fun with the 808, just playing around with the 808, moving up and down on the keypad with it, just having fun with it. And that's what it's all about, because are you really are you really making music if you ain't having fun? That's what it's about, really. The best music comes from having fun. We just having fun vibe, you know, because it introduces in the audience, or you might catch this live later on the replay. You might gonna say, "Hey, I agree. I agree with you, Lo. That I made some of my best beats when I'm just vibing and having fun. I'm just vibing with no clear attention, not even try to make a certain type of vibe. I wasn't even looking for a certain type of vibe, but I was just having fun. And since I love 808s in my beats, and I love to make a lot of bass heavy hip hop beats, I thought that'd be perfect. So and I listened to it and I decided to get a better mix on it and put it out. I said, hey, this is the perfect way to end Bassline Flex, because I want people to be able to go on the high notes like, yo, bro, that was a ride. That's what I want people to understand, that Bassline Flex is going to take you on the ride, a bass heavy ride. Imagine going on a ride in the music park, just nothing but bass heavy tracks. That's what Bassline Flex is. Think about it. Like a roller coaster. You're gonna start up, then you're gonna go down, you're gonna go back up, and then you're gonna go back down, and then you're gonna go in the middle, That's what IDK gives you. I was vibing. He gives you like in the middle. Didn't break it down too much, but rock it just at the right level where, has the balance, It's a balance. Still stays with the theme, still has that bass heavy sound that people like, and just having fun. So, that was the story behind IDK. I was vibing. I was just vibing. No attention, no real attention behind it, just to have fun. But you can see and you can hear it in the beat. Change it up. And probably the part that people might like, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to Bassline Flex. If you ain't had a chance to listen to it, go listen to it. Let me know what you think. Listen to your feedback. I take good or bad. Give me some criticism. But if you listen to IDK, I was vibing. You'll see that. You see what I'm talking about. I was literally vibing. You can see how I changed the beat so much in the breakdown when I just took the instruments away and had the violins come out. I really just having fun. I didn't know what to call it, so I said IDK. I was vibing. So that's pretty much the ride of Bassline Flex. I didn't keep you guys long. I'm Loretta Zoney. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys go out and listen to Bassline Flex. And I love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. If you're watching the live, after watching the replay of this live, go ahead and drop a comment, and share your thoughts. And you can let me know what's your favorite track. I love to hear from you. And before I get out of here, I just want to let you guys know that Loud Talks Lows every Wednesday night, same time, unless I say otherwise. And also, make sure you guys know this. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you like the content that you hear today, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, if you like to be a guest on Live Talks Low, contact me at the email right here. Loretta's only one at gmail.com. That's my email. Contact me. Send a bio, a picture of you, and let me know what you do. Whether it's music, whether you're a business owner, or you're just somebody that wants to share a topic, or you have a good topic in mind that we could talk about. You like to jump on the live with me? Come on and share it. I appreciate you guys. And make sure you go out and listen to Bassline Flex if you love bass heavy hip hop. And make sure you listen to it with speakers. The best influence is with speakers. This album, this EP, is made for those that love bass heavy in the speakers. If you got speakers, you want your speakers to knock, you want your car speakers to knock, you want your truck to rattle, Bassline Flex is the perfect EP for you. Clip that. Check that. I'm out. Peace.